make sure I get the right words here. Do you support hotspot policing? Why or why not? Ms. Spencer is first.
So hotspot policing is, focusing police officers in a particular area. I do think that there are some instances where this can be effective, but I certainly don't think that the sentence should end there. We do need more police officers on our streets. In the 20th Ward, we have very, very high response times. But I think more importantly, we need to think outside the box with our policing. We need to look to other cities at what they're doing. Hotspot policing, while it might be an important part of it, is certainly not the answer. We don't want to live in a police state. I certainly don't. I know that Mr. Schmidt, Alderman Schmidt here, introduced legislation in the last couple of years that gave police officers the right to arrest people for loitering. These are the type of overbearing legislative policies that I don't think are very good for any of our constituents.
Hotspot policing is helpful if you have community-oriented police officers who are out there introducing themselves to the residents of the area. Also, we have tried to work as a more progressive effort to get focused services all the time, and that needs to go along with the police work. I don't know where we get the idea that one-way streets decrease home values or increase crime. I will tell you that there are still people asking for one-way streets. We need to make sure that we're working with the streets administrator. I am committed to working with the police department. It's one of the reasons why we need the $7 to $10 million to get the additional police officers that we're looking for. Hotspots is helpful temporarily, but we really need to have a longer range effort, and that includes all of you. We continue to do all these things with the neighborhood accountability boards and the non-neighborhood-oriented efforts for reviewing the work in the neighborhood. I did not introduce no loitering legislation.
Okay. New topic. And this goes to Mr. Smith first. All right. Do you support a liquor moratorium in the 20th Ward? If so, why are the current processes to obtain and keep a liquor license not enough? Are you aware the state liquor laws prevent the local option to bar the sales of packaged liquor? The state law prevents preventing. Got that?
I'm not sure.
Are you aware of the state liquor laws preventing a local option to bar it? It's listed here, State Liquor Control 311.170.1.
Oh, okay, so they believe that somebody is trying to bar the ability of the local area to stop.
Stop, yes.
Okay, so I have never been in support of a moratorium or prohibition. What I supported is having reasonable conditions to deal with some of the issues that come about with liquor. There are 10 wards throughout the city that have limits on packaged liquor and other parts of liquor. So the issue is to try to make sure, just as they do in University City, in the Loop, that they have at least 50% food and they deal with some of the issues that come up. I am certainly happy to work with the neighbors to have the standards established by the community, but we can't put our heads in the sand and believe that there are not issues that are there. There have been many issues in the past, and we need to work together to try to make sure that those are taken care of. We want to make sure that we have responsibility on the part of the residents and those businesses, and that we have transparency and everybody knows what the standards are up front.
So the legislation that was brought to the Board of Aldermen in November was called a liquor moratorium. And And so following that, because there was no transparency, as Craig just suggested, the neighborhood associations and the business associations got together and asked Alderman Schmidt if he would in fact gather us together to have input and transparency on this legislation that was brought to City Hall on behalf of the entire 20th Ward without any communication with any organization whatsoever. I do believe that there is a need for transparency across the board, but specifically with this liquor moratorium, we need to have input. There are laws in place that give a 350-foot radius so that residents and business owners can have an input on whether or not a business should open. We don't need to have overly restrictive policies, and we certainly do need to include and inform all of our residents and our business and neighborhood associations on legislation before going to City Hall.
Thank you very much. Okay, deep breath, new topic. Good questions, folks, really good questions. Metrolink. Okay. Do you support expansion of Metrolink through the 20th Ward? If so, what is the path forward? And what do you see as your role in moving this huge project forward? Ms. Smith?
Sure. So the Metrolink is one of my favorite things. It has been a project that's been on the books for quite some time, but it's been languishing under the current leadership at City Hall. So I worked to squash Amendment 7, which was an unfair tax measure, and from that we developed an organization called the Friends of the North-South Metrolink, which includes the executive directors, the former executive directors of both East-West Gateway Council of Governments and Citizens of Modern Transit. And from that, we actually, through our grassroots effort, reignited the conversation about the North-South Metrolink. If you're not aware, it comes down Jefferson and goes all the way up to Ferguson. While many of our elected officials claim to support the North-South Metrolink, as far as I know, with the exception of Scott Ogilvie and just a few others, nobody has been doing a thing about it. And so I see my role being very important and very active in securing funds, which we have available, by the way, for the North-South Metrolink expansion that would directly serve our residents.
So I supported the effort when they were looking for the north-south pathway for Metrolink. Originally, they were going to go down along the railroad right-of-way along the riverfront. And some of us were very strong in our support to try to have it come straight down Jefferson. It makes a lot of sense. It's going to be helpful for our residents as well as our businesses. And I think it gives people the sense that they can see exactly another option for transit. One of the major problems is federal sequestration. If you haven't heard that, I know all of us in this room have, and that means that the federal government is pretty stingy with the money these days. And so I know that Scott Ogilvie and I both, when we were talking with Safe Cities, Strong Communities, which are the federal arm trying to cut through red tape, said that this was a priority. It is a priority. I'm not sure where the funding is going to come from, but what happens is you see these opportunities, you have to seize them. It's going to take a lot of money, but it is a priority. It needs to happen.
Okay, kind of along the same general concern area with Metrolink. What can you do to support and encourage the neighborhood resident associations to facilitate more residents?